All right, hey guys, welcome to Teal House Farm. Today we're going to can some 3-bean smoky bacon jalapeno soup. I really don't know what to call it, but that's what it tastes like. It's a spicy bean soup. It's got like a bacony, smoky flavor because we're going to use the odd ends and pieces from when we buy a hog from the butcher. Now, if you don't have odds, ends, and pieces, because maybe you're just doing this off with store-bought stuff, that's totally fine. You can just chop up some bacon, some raw bacon, or you could use some chopped up ham as well, and you'll get a very similar soup as what we're gonna make today. So let me show you everything that we've got, and then Ivy's gonna help me get started. Oh, and I'll just warn you, this one isn't a quick canning recipe. You do need some patience because we got to do some boiling and some soaking and getting things ready. So this one is going to take most of the day, but a lot of that is inactive time. The base of this recipe, you need some sort of meat. We're using all of our odds and ends. So I have some pork bones, I have hocks, I think that's actually all I have here today. My absolute favorite to use are the bacon ends, but I don't have any left over this time. I've already used them. The only reason I like bacon ends the most is because there's no bone in them, so I can skip this boiling and simmering step to get the flavor out of the bones and just throw the bacon ends in the pot. So we have kind of an extra step when we have these bones in here, and I'll explain that more as we go along. But it all ends up with the same kind of quality product. And you need beans. You need 6 pounds of beans for this recipe, and I like a mixed bean soup, and you can kind of use whatever kind of beans you want. But today we're going to use 2 pounds Great Northern, 2 pounds red beans, and 2 pounds black beans. These are dry beans. It is massively cheaper to rehydrate your own beans than it is to buy all canned beans. For example, each one of these bean bags are a pound. They were all $1. But a can of beans right now for us is around $1.40, and that's probably only ends up being like this much of a bag. So massively cheaper to do this yourself, do the extra step, and get the dry beans. And you also have to have some tomato juice for the base. I do make my own tomato juice. I actually have some in the pantry. I thought I was out, but I didn't know that when I went to the store today, so I bought some, but that's okay. We'll use it for something else. Okay, and then the kitchen sink part of this is we just kind of use up whatever veg we have laying around. So we're going to use a couple onions. We're going to finish up these 2 bags of carrots, and we're going to dice up some tomatoes. You could add no vegetables if you wanted to. Other veggies that work great are things like corn works really great, your bell peppers. You could probably sneak in some zucchini and mushrooms. They don't have really any flavor to change the flavor. And then the last thing I always add is jalapeños because I love the spice. Now, all of our jalapeños from the garden have either been canned or in the freezer. So I'm going to use the ones from the freezer. Not going to take them out just yet. Don't want to deal with them yet. We'll need them at the very end. But we are going to throw jalapeños in there, and the jalapeños really give this a nice kick. And I highly recommend adding the jalapeños or a spicier pepper if you really like things hot. That makes just such a delicious soup. It's so good on a cold day with a little bit of cheese and sour cream in it. Just so good. To get started, though, we need to go ahead and get our beans ready, and we need to get all of those pork bones simmering so that we can eventually get the flavor and the meat off of them. Okay, the beans we bring to a boil, kind of overflowed a little bit there, and then we're just going to turn, just a second there, Annie, we're going to just turn them off, and they're going to sit in the hot water for an hour. Off. Now the meat we're bringing to a boil as well, not quite there, but then we're going to simmer it for about an hour. Take the meat that's cooled down here. We're just going to shred it. Just going to use my fingers, basically pull it off the bone and just put it right back in this pot. You probably could save the bones if you wanted to, make bone broth out of them, something like that. I'm not going to today. There is not a lot of meat on hocks and things like that, but this is a perfect way to use it up, because normally you have these and you're like, yeah, what am I gonna do with that? You know, they're great for soups and things. Lots of flavor. There is some edible meat, and the pressure canning will really make that meat nice and tender. So, all right, there's one. So what we're going to do next, after we get all this meat off, we're going to dump the beans that we drained. We're just gonna dump here in this pot with the meat. And then we're going to dice all of the vegetables I showed you. We're gonna add them as well. And then we'll get the jalapenos out of the freezer and we'll dice those up to, I probably am going to add, I'm trying to think, maybe a cup's worth of jalapenos to this ginormous pot. So it's very slight. And this because I don't like super spice. If you like something really hot, add more pepper, more of the jalapeno peppers. But I like a hint of spice. I don't like, you know, eye-watering spicy. So we do it just as a little extra, not as the main flavor. So we're gonna add all those in, and then we're gonna add our 2 big cans of tomato juice, and then we're going to add the reserve liquid we saved from boiling the meat. We're gonna add that as well. But we're not gonna use all of it, and I'll show you the amount. It's kind of, you have to just go by look on this here, and I'll show you when I'm done so you have an idea. We just want it to look like a nice bean soup, so we're just gonna add enough until it looks like that. And I can't tell you how much that'll be. That just, you know, depends on how much veg, how much meat there ends up being, things like that. So this is actually going pretty fast. And then after we add those all in, we're just gonna heat it to a boil. We don't wanna cook the beans all the way. You might be saying, hey, aren't those beans still kind of crunchy? Yes, they are. This is gonna go in the pressure canner for 90 minutes. That is a lot of time, and it's gonna cook those beans the rest of the way. If we put them in fully cooked now, like if you went and opened up a can of beans, like store-bought beans, and dumped them and did this in pressure can, like they're gonna be kind of a mush coming out the other end. I mean, you can do it, it's not awful, but I like a firmer bean. And doing it this way, canning them before they are quite all the way done is a great way, there's more bones, a great way to get a really good quality bean at the end, starting with these dried beans and just mostly rehydrating them, but not quite all the way. This one is super hot. Whew. So just heat it to a boil. We're gonna fill quart jars today. I might do some pints. I like doing pints because it's like a self-contained little soup, and I can pack it with Sam to take to work or something like that, and he can just take the lid off and pop that mason jar in the microwave and heat up his soup, and then you know, you're not dirtying another container. Just bring it back when he's done. But I mostly do quarts because this is something I usually like to heat up and serve at like lunch, or something with maybe some cornbread and some, like I said, some cheese and some sour cream. It's really good. So we'll do larger jars for the family. Oh, these onions are terrible. Okay, here we go. We got 2 diced onions that are burning my eyeballs out, and a couple pieces of slab bacon that I diced up because after shredding all that meat, didn't look like there was quite enough. Diced carrots, I don't know, 1.5 cups maybe. 3 diced tomatoes and some more carrots. And some jalapenos diced up relatively small. Into the pot they go. Now we are going to add our drained beans. There's a lot of them. Our 2 big jugs of tomato juice. And we're gonna top it off with some of our leftover bone broth, pork broth, whatever you want to call it. Okay, we are not using all of this broth. There's still quite a bit left. You can can this if you want to. I'm just gonna put it in a container in the fridge. I think I'm gonna make some poor man's gravy out tomorrow night, and we're gonna have pork chops and mashed potatoes and gravy, and that'll be, there's not enough left to be worth my effort, I feel like, to can. Okay, I'm gonna show you what this looks like so you have an idea. Ta-da! So this is just over the beans level. So what I usually do with soups here is I'm gonna pack these jars pretty full, and when I open them up, I'm gonna add a little bit more water when I warm it up for the family to make it go farther. I get more of the meaty stuff in the jar, and then make the meal larger by adding water when I open it up. All right, we have to bring this to a boil, and then it's gonna be ready to go in our hot prepped jars. Again, this has to be pressure canned. It has meat in it, so sorry. Let's go do it. A canner of quarts and a canner of pints. The pints are going to be 75 minutes, quarts are 90 minutes, and you don't start your timer until you've made it all the way up to pressure, which where we live is 11 pounds pressure. You need to check your altitude charts. Promise that baby's okay. He's just mad that I put him in the pack and play. But he's got to be safe, right? Because we're doing some real hot stuff. Can't have him crawling under my feet. All right, I'll show you what it looks like when we're all done, but this is the sit and wait part, but don't sit too far away. Got to keep an eye on your pressures. Don't want to blow up your house. This is the next day. We're all done. So they look really good. Yum, yum, yum. As always, store your canned goods without the rings on them. It helps prevent false seals, so you know if they're bad, because the lids will pop off. And
I turned 4.
You did turn 4 a while ago. Cool. And that's it. I hope you enjoy. We love this with some sour cream and cheese, but you can eat it just as it is. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.